thought I'd see you later.
Imperialism had started to gain more control when exploration started to increase further. The motivation for this was expansion of territory and the want for materials, which Africa was rich in. Otto von Bismarck called the Western powers to a conference not only to insert himself as a world power, but to negotiate the terms of splitting up Africa. The most significant part about the conference was Africa having no say in the division. Not a single representative from Africa was there. A French Jewish officer was wrongly accused and convicted of treason by the army, who refused to exonerate. This affair began to gain traction because it undermined conservative leadership of the French army. That triggered a democratic reform of the officers' court, which resulted in way more anti-Semitism among the French and divided them into 3 estates. It was only then in 1906 that Dreyfus was cleared of the charges and promoted to artillery mayor, as well as awarded the Legion of Honor.
Bloody Sunday was mainly caused by the Russo-Japanese War. Gregory Apollonovich led workers to protest at the Tsar to make their demands. They had a peaceful protest until the imperial forces opened fire. Riots and strikes broke out. Around 10 years later, it came to a head due to the demands of World War I. World War I was a great global war between the Allied powers like France, Britain, Russia, and later the US, and the Central Powers like Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. The war was triggered by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The war brought many new technologies like tanks, aircrafts, machine guns, and poison gas. Once the US entered the war, it tipped the balance in favor of the Allied powers. Then Russia exited the war due to the Bolshevik Revolution. This led to the fall of Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. The war then ended with the Treaty of Versailles.
America, Britain, and France called the treaty in order to figure out what to do with Germany, which officially ended World War I. All had different opinions on how to handle Germany, starting with America, who didn't think Germany did anything wrong at all. In fact, wanted to help Germany so as not to cause any more trouble. France wanted a harsh punishment on Germany because of how Germany humiliated them in the past, and Britain was somewhere in the middle due to Germany destroying their ships during World War I. They all eventually settled on Germany having no air force, no navy, and a reduced army, as well as reduced arms, as well as forcing Germany to pay the hefty cost of the war.
Hitler's rise to power wasn't easy, as he kept winning every election to get people on his side. It wasn't until World War II started when he saw how horrible Germany's economy was. He took this advantage to find a common enemy and push it towards Jews and communist people. People were desperate that they believed he was there to help them, though this did not last long, as Germany's economy began to improve again and people began to support Hitler less and less and less. But then Germany fell apart again, and Hitler convinced everyone back to his side. He created the Nazi Party, which all his supporters were a part of. He soon got elected as Chancellor, which was a huge mess as he abused his power. He took out anyone who had different views than him and those who he saw as threats, even if they were on his side. He censored anything that would make him seem wrong and used lots of propaganda. This was a time of pain and despair for many people. Many got sent to concentration camps where many died, and others were sent to hard labor before they were killed off. People who had opposed Hitler were also sent to these camps as a punishment for not following Hitler's beliefs. Hitler's main targets were the Jews because during World War I, the army was betrayed by Jews, and he claimed they were greedy influencers. This happened during Hitler's ruling in World War II. Hitler used the Jews and communists as a blame on why Germany was in a bad state, and used the hatred to bring people together and persuade people to support him. The people who survived the concentration camps got saved once Nazi control diminished and World War II was over. This was an invasion on Germany, and it is still to this day the largest sea, land, and air operation to have ever occurred. This was a step to ending the World War. The Germans built a wall full of landmines, breakers, and wall obstacles that was 2,400 miles long. They had no idea where the invasion would happen or when, so they built this wall in hopes it would prevent the attack. Operation Fortitude was created to lure Germany away from the beach and convince them the invasion will happen elsewhere. Germany was cautious though, as they left behind people at the beach. Now, this invasion all depended on the bravery of the Allied men, and they did not disappoint, as they were able to defeat Germany.
The Cold War was a tension between the US and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union divided the world into NATO and the Warsaw Pact. NATO was formed by the US to prevent Soviet expansion, which consisted of the US, Canada, West, North, South Europe, with Greece, Turkey, West Germany, and Spain joining later on. The Warsaw Pact was formed to go against NATO and secure Soviet military dominance, and it consisted of the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, and East Germany. Both of these powers had nuclear arsenals that caused tensions, yet they avoided direct military conflict, knowing that it would ultimately end as an annihilation of both nations. Instead, they clashed through the space race and proxy wars. The Cuban Missile Crisis was the closest it came to a nuclear war, with a 13-day standoff that caused tension. This came to an end when the Soviet Union crumbled under the unstable economy.
After World War II, Germany was split. Berlin was split into a Western Democratic Zone and Communist Eastern Zone. This caused many East Germans to cross the border to the West to escape oppressive surveillance, communist dictatorship, and to get a better economy. Many workers got low wages and bad work conditions, which is another big reason why many left. To stop this, East German troops laid down barbed wire, which then escalated into a concrete wall with landmines and watchtowers. After the Soviets' political and economic collapse from the arms race, this led to the fall of the Berlin Wall.